Hello, everyone, and welcome to our UCLA Global Internship Program info session dedicated to programs located in Bogota, Colombia. My name is Ana Arellano, and I am the coordinator for these programs here at the UCLA Study Abroad office. With us today, we have two very special guests. We have Matthew Barfield as well as Catalina Ortiz, and they are both part of the Intern Colombia team. Intern Colombia is our program partner, so they're the ones with the local connections in Bogota, and they will be the ones that will be placing the internship for you. So very special guests. It's a great opportunity to learn more about Bogota, what it's like about having internships there, and we'll speak a little bit more during the presentation to touch base on that. With that, we're going to go ahead and begin. We have a very brief agenda. We're going to just give a very brief overview about our programs as well as the eligibility process. We have a very brief video that showcases the placement process and the timeline on the UCLA end. And then I'll pass it along to the Intern Colombia team to speak about interning in Bogota, as well as speaking about past internship examples. And then we'll conclude with program funding options as well as a Q&A section. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to enter them into the chat or the Q&A function, and then we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. So just a very brief overview of our program in Bogota. You will be interning on this program for 8 weeks. The exact dates are June 21st through August 18th. While you will be interning for 8 weeks, your total program consists of a 10-week program. And that's because you will be enrolling in an online course that takes place from June 24th through August 30th. And this will be all online, and it follows summer session A's here at UCLA. On this program, students will automatically receive 4 units. However, there is an optional course if you decide to earn an additional 4 units. So you can earn anywhere from 4 to 8. I do want to make a quick note that if you do intend to use your UCLA financial aid to cover the total cost of the program, you must enroll in full-time enrollee status, which is those 2 courses for a total of 8 units. I just want to reiterate, you can earn anywhere from 4 to 8 on this program. These are academic-only internships, so they are not paid. And on this internship, you can expect to intern 32 hours per week. So for Bogota, we do have some partnerships exclusively with the UCLA departments. That includes the Communication Department, Education, Global Affairs, which is part of the International Institute. We have Political Science as well as Public Affairs. I do want to make a quick note that our Education and Public Affairs programs are strictly for those within the majors or minors in those departments. However, our Communications, Global Affairs, and Political Science are open to all majors and minors. Although we have partnership with academic tracks, you'll notice that our programs are catered to specific departments, so for example, communications, but if you're interested in any within those career sectors that are offered, you're welcome to apply. Just wanted to make a quick note that they are catered to those departments. Within these academic tracks, we have various career sectors. I want to start off by pointing that not all of these career sectors are located within each academic track. So I strongly encourage you to view our program brochures or program pages to see what career sectors are available within each academic track. But within Intern Colombia, they offer advertising, marketing, public relations, advocacy groups, placements within education, human rights, international business, as well as NGOs, nonprofits, social justice, and urban planning. So just quick, like I mentioned, each program page indicates which of these career sectors are located within each academic track. The eligibility criteria, it does depend per academic track. So for example, like I mentioned, our Education and Public Affairs departments are strictly for those majors and minors. However, any other track is open to all UCLA majors and minors. The prerequisites are only required for our education track. For our education track, students must complete Education 180 prior to the start of the program. If you don't have that completed just yet, that's okay, as long as you're on track to complete that before the program begins. Otherwise, if you're interested in any other track, there are no prerequisites. All of our programs require a minimum GPA of a 3.0, as well as having a 90 total cumulative units. We do accept AP and transfer credit units, so as long as you have those 90 before the spring of 2024, you're good to go. Finally, we do have academic standing requirements. You must be in good academic standing from the time you apply to the time you depart. Typically, this includes having a 2.0 term GPA per term. So the coursework that students would be enrolling in, every student would be enrolling in the 195 course. This is the internship course. Depending on the academic track that you pursue, this may or may not satisfy major or minor requirements. And as well, it could depend on the type of course that you enroll in. So it could be 195C or it could be 195CE. This is the mandatory course. We do offer an optional course, which is CSC 130 for the additional 4 units. And this is the intercultural communication in the global workplace. So this is really meant to complement your internships. You will be in a different environment with different cultures. You will be with the English-speaking supervisor. However, there are different ways that they conduct meetings, a different way that they have deliverables. So it's a really good way to establish that communication with your supervisor, with your colleagues, and just to make sure that you're getting the best out of your internship. So like I mentioned, this is an optional course. However, for our students interested in financial aid, you must enroll in both the 195 internship course and the CSC 130. And once again, each program page indicates if they may satisfy major or minor requirements, as well as the grading, whether it's pass, no pass, or if it's a letter grade option. Our applications are now open, and they will be open up until November 27. This is not a first come, first serve application system. We do take the time to review your resume, your statement of purpose, as well as take in what you're mentioning during your advising call, which is what happens after you submit your application, and I'll touch upon that soon. The reason I mentioned it's not a first come, first serve system is that we do encourage students to submit their application sooner than later. We do expect a high influx of applications being submitted on November 27th, if not closer to that date. But the later you submit your application, the more confident there can be with your final schedule. So if there's a lot of application, that means there's going to be a lot of advising calls happening, which means your advising call can be pushed into when you're perhaps taking finals or studying for finals. So in order to avoid that, we encourage you to apply sooner than later. But once again, not a first come, first serve system. We have a very brief video that explains more about the UCLA process, what happens when you submit your application and what are the next steps, as well as when payments are and when that placement process actually occurs. So we're going to go ahead and just very briefly view the video.
The UCLA Global Internship Program. Placement process and timeline. The Global Internship Program offers UCLA students the opportunity to gain a competitive edge in the job market with an 8-week international summer internship. Students receive direct UCLA credit and secure an internship based on their academic, professional, and personal goals. After an application is submitted, the student will interview with our program partners in the host country to assess their qualifications, experience, goals, and discuss possible internship placements. In January, after an extensive review, students are notified of their application status. If accepted, they must submit a non-refundable $300 deposit to secure their spot on the program. In February, students must pay the full program fee or submit a financial aid agreement form. This payment is used to finalize and secure all program logistics, such as housing. This is also the last chance to withdraw from the program without any additional financial penalty. Starting in April and moving into early June, the internship placement process will occur. Our program partners will arrange interviews with local organizations and companies based on each student's individual goals. Students will interview with one host company at a time. Ongoing interviews will continue with prospective internship site managers until there is a match between both the student and the host company. We guarantee all students an international internship placement. Visit ieo.ucla.edu/globalinternships to view our programs, dates and deadlines, funding resources, and more.
Perfect. So that did it in a much quicker and a much better way than I would have possibly explained this. But just a very quick summary, you would submit your application, and soon after you would speak with our Intern Colombia team for that advising call. And decisions would be released in mid-January of whether we were able to secure you a meaningful internship on this program. With that said, we do have some sample internship placement opportunities. If you are interested in viewing, we specifically under the sample internship tab on each program page, there is a PDF handbook. And on here, you can view past internship placements that our students have had, as well as view more about that respective company that Intern Colombia has a partnership with. So it's a very good research tool to kind of see what is offered, and as well as the Intern Colombia team. I'll pass it on there to speak a little bit more about the placement process, what it's like to live there, as well as intern in Bogota.
Okay, thank you, Anna. And thank you to everyone else for joining us this afternoon. My name is Matthew. I'm the program director at Intern Colombia, and my colleague Catalina is also connected, who is the admissions and partnerships manager. Okay, so the idea of this particular part of the info session is just to give you an overview of what Intern Colombia does and what the program consists of, and a bit more information about life in Bogota. And then finally, at the end, any questions that you would like to ask us, we would encourage those as well. So let me just see if I can change the slide here. Okay. So yeah, we're going to give you an overview of the program, what's included, also some example internship programs as well, more information about Colombia and Bogota, as I mentioned, and then at the end, a Q&A. So Intern Colombia is a third-party internship provider, and we provide all-inclusive internship programs linked to a wide range of 24 different academic disciplines. And our team is here to help you every step of the way. So even before you arrive in Colombia, we'll give you advice about what you need to do before traveling to Colombia and also what to bring. So we'll get to that later with the weather being very unpredictable in Colombia. And basically the idea is that you have the best possible experience and don't have too much to worry about. So you can enjoy your internship to the full and also the activities that we organize outside of your internship as well. So basically what's included in the program. So as Anna has already covered somewhat, there is the internship placement that matches your profile, preferences, career goals, interests, and experience. And that's something that we will discuss during your advising sessions and also your pre-placement meeting. And we also provide pre-arrival support and advice. You'll also receive a visa letter before traveling to Colombia, which you'd need to present to Migración Colombia. And the majority of countries around the world allow their citizens to arrive in Colombia without having to obtain a visa before traveling. We also provide airport pickup. And before you start your internship placement, you'll have a city tour and orientation, which should give you an introduction into the local culture, also the local cuisine, and also some basic safety tips around living in Bogota. We also provide accommodation and a welcome package as well upon arrival, which does include a local SIM card, a local transportation card, amongst other things. And more or less once a week or once every 2 weeks, we organize social, cultural, and networking events. These include things related to Colombia, but we also like to take into account any specific interests each individual person has that comes. So we've done hiking before. We actually have a student from the US where Catalina took him to a local basketball game. She tells me they were the only people there watching, but he had a good time. We also organize day trips and excursions as well, so you can experience life outside of Bogota and see smaller towns as well. And our team is on the ground here in Bogota, so we provide 24/7 support for anything you might need. And the last two are very important. So we provide introductory salsa classes. In Colombia, salsa is a very big thing. They're taught it since they're like 3, 4, 5 years old. And once you're here, you'll realize that you really need to know some basic steps. But also offering something new as well, which are 4 Spanish classes. Okay, so the idea being behind that is that you'd have 2 virtual classes before arriving in Colombia, just to make sure your Spanish is getting up to scratch before you arrive, and then 2 in-person classes once you're here as well. We found with the group of students this year, it took them a week more or less to get accustomed to the local Spanish, and we think it might be helpful to have maybe a couple of classes before you actually arrive in Colombia, specific to Colombian Spanish as well. Regarding the cultural activities and network events, I'll just go into that in a bit more detail as well. So this year, for example, and also last year, we had a visit to the Colombian Congress and Senate. We've also taken students to local soccer games. In the bottom left, you can see one of our day trips to a small town called Villa Leyva, where we also did, I think it's called 4-wheeling in the US or quad biking. And then there is, in the bottom right, the city tour and orientation. And there's also other tours that we organize based on interest. So the 2 photos to the left are the graffiti tour, which talks about the social, political situation in Colombia through art. And then the top left is the Breaking Borders tour, which is based in a neighborhood in Bogota, which was previously notoriously not safe, but now it's very safe and promotes tourism. And they kind of tell the story around the transformation of that neighborhood. Okay. Anna as well has already touched on this, but just to give you an idea of the types of areas in which we offer internships. These are somewhat linked to the academic tracks, but we have programs specifically in the areas of brand management, communications, also community development, education, government and politics, human rights, international development and sustainability, international relations or global affairs, law, and specific to Colombia, peace building, reconciliation, and post-conflict reconstruction. We also have partnerships with organizations related to public policy and also social work. In the next slide, I just wanted to touch on a couple of examples of specific organizations. I won't go through them all. I appreciate there's a lot, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But for example, the top left, Bogota Como Vamos, that's a non-governmental entity that analyzes the quality of life for citizens living in Bogota, and they try to promote and influence public policies that would have a positive impact on citizens in the city. And they analyze the quality of life through various indicators, either linked to transportation and mobility, the environment, security, housing, and other things. El Foro Nacional por Colombia is an organization which focuses on assessing the quality of democracy in Colombia and also citizen participation in democracy. Again, they do try and advocate for and influence public policy in positive ways that would encourage more democratic participation of citizens, especially in rural areas of Colombia, which have been previously abandoned by the state of Colombia. So trying to integrate a higher number of citizens into the democratic process. The two in the middle, La Valentina and Biz Latin Hub, those are more related to communications and brand management. And then in the bottom right, we have Fundación AEIO2, which is linked to education. And they work with children from impoverished backgrounds with the aim of reducing the gap in child development throughout the educational process from birth until adolescence. They currently have educational centers across Colombia and help around 14,000 children across Colombia as well. If you would like any more information on these organizations that I haven't gone through, feel free to ask at the end or reach out to us via email through the application process. The next session, we're going to talk about Colombia. I'll go through it from a foreigner's perspective, and then if Catalina wants to add anything from a local's perspective, please add anything. So one of the first points that I just wanted to touch on is the perception of Colombia and the reputation of Colombia. So obviously over the last 20 years or so, Colombia has undergone a massive transformation. So it's not like perhaps maybe what your parents think or what you've seen on series on Netflix. So it's now a nation firmly on the path to peace and prosperity. Obviously, there are still some minor problems like any country has, but compared to where it was 20 years ago, it's undergone a massive transformation. And considering that transformation, it actually makes it one of the world's most exciting and unique destinations. So back in 2016, it ended a 52-year internal conflict. That peace process is still being implemented. At the moment, it's a step-by-step process, but again, it's quite remarkable what Colombia has done over the last 5 to 10 years with regards to that particular conflict. Compared to other countries in Latin America, Colombia is one of the fastest growing economies and is slowly catching up to Argentina, Mexico, and Brazil. and they recently became the 37th member of the OECD back in 2020. Colombia is also the second most biodiverse country in the world. So that makes it very interesting. From Bogota, you can literally take a 45-minute flight to Cartagena and you can be on the Caribbean coast. And then from from Bogota, you can go south about an hour and a half and end up in the Amazon region as well. So there's loads to do in your free time. Also, Colombians are some of the friendliest people in the world. So that's a comment which a lot of our former interns have told us. Catalina probably agrees with me, I don't know, but she'll say probably on the next slide. Also, Colombia is frequently featured now as one of the top places to visit by publications such as the National Geographic, Lonely Planet, the New York Times, Condé Nast Traveler, and also Time Out magazine, among others.
Okay, my perspective about Bogota. It is a multi-diverse city on many aspects, like such as culture, art, cinema, nature, park, activities, very fun. To see the weather is unpredictable even in the same day. So you can start with a sunny day and the afternoon is rainy day. So this is because Colombia sits along the equator and there are not really any seasons. About the people, like Matthew said, we are really friendly, and even with the foreign people is advantage because we are willing to help you always. So and the last part I think is really important. The public transportation is really fast. It's the way that you can get really fast anywhere. And also in the city, Bogota, as another or as any other city, you can find anything you would like to do. This is the public transportation we use like a common day, and in the left side you can see Transmilenio. That is a faster because they have one trivially street to move, and the other side you can see in the center, in the top, no, middle. In the middle, in the middle you can see the integral bus system in blue and green bus. There are shared streets or avenues or whatever you want with the other vehicles like motorcycle, car, and bicycle. And other option you have that is in the right part is the ride sharing apps. One of them is Cabify, that is you have to pay to move in the city, and one of the eco vehicle that you can use is Team BC, is for the app and you rent a bicycle and just go wherever you want for the city. And also to mention, Bogota is the city have a lot of cycle bike to move around Bogota, and it's safety.
Cool. And I just want to add as well to the part about Bogota, as it is the capital city of Colombia. One of the things which makes it a really interesting city is we have people here from all over Colombia. So you can actually get to experience all the different regions of Colombia, especially through food in Bogota. And it definitely does have that capital city vibe. So what we mean by that is there's always something to do. So there's lots of museums to go and see. There's also concerts, events, and new things popping up across the city, which makes it very interesting to be here. So I think that brings us to the end of our section.
Yes, thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Catalina. So we're going to go ahead and just move forward with some program funding options. So there are different costs depending if you're the 4-unit or 8-unit track. What I do want to highlight is that this total estimated cost incurs everything that we expect a student to pay or incur while they're on the study abroad program. So these are estimates. I do want to make a quick note that this program does not include a meal plan. So each of your housings will have access to a shared kitchen. So for example, the $1,300 that you see for meals and essentials is simply an estimate, your round trip airfare. So what I want to say is that your price can decrease or it could increase depending on your spending habits. And on each program page, it will indicate which items are billable, which will be paid on your UCLA bill, and which others are estimates, which could increase or decrease the price. But in total, a student can expect to pay anywhere between $6,667 and $7,783 for the total cost of this program. But because of that, I do want to highlight that financial aid is applicable. Financial aid does consist of scholarship, grants, and loans. During the summer, aid does tend to be more loan heavy, and that includes whether you're participating on a study abroad program or conducting classes at UCLA summer sessions. There are just grants available during the academic year that are unfortunately not available during the summer term, which is what makes it more loan heavy. In order to receive financial aid, students must complete FAFSA or DREAMAC for the 2024 to 2025 school year. In addition, on your global internship application, it will ask if you plan to use financial aid. If you indicate yes, this will prompt additional forms at a later time. If you indicate no, no further action will be required. However, you cannot go back and indicate yes, which means that you would be missing those additional forms. So just make sure to indicate yes or no as appropriately. And finally, I want to just briefly remind students that if you do intend to use financial aid, you will need to enroll in both courses, the internship and the CSC 130, in order to be considered a full-time enrollee student and earn that financial aid. Another thing I do want to highlight is there's a lot of scholarships that are available. This is an opportunity to earn or to have free money you do not need to be repaid, and it's a very good opportunity to help chip away at the cost of the program. A lot of times scholarships are under applied to. I'm not saying if you apply to a scholarship that guarantees you a scholarship, but it does increase your chances. It's a very good likelihood that you could be a recipient. Our office specifically, we offer the Global Internship Scholarship where students can earn up to $3,000. We have identity-based, merit-based, income-based scholarships. We also offer on our website some external links that includes federal scholarships that could be available if you're a Pell Grant recipient. I strongly encourage you to consider applying to the Gilman Scholarship. So a lot of great opportunities out there. I strongly encourage you to apply to anything that you can and that you are eligible for. Like I mentioned, free money is great money. It's something that I would phrase it as. If you have any questions on how to help navigate scholarship, what you're eligible for, what is out there, feel free to connect with our office and we're happy to provide you with those resources. So I do want to highlight some testimonials from our students. So for example, Mark Figueroa, who is an education major on this program, said that the knowledge I gained during my global internship program in Bogota, Colombia could have never been acquired from a textbook or sitting in a class. I truly believe that this experience allowed me to gain knowledge around culturally responsive practices through the community engagement that I experienced. And then we have Veronica Reyes, who's a global studies and economics major, who said that my summer in Bogota, Colombia has been transformative. From embracing the region's diverse landscapes, the cuisine and people, to delving into its complex history, these experiences have profoundly shaped my outlook. I learned the danger of the single narrative and how that is overcome by exposure and human connections. What we really want to highlight with our student quotes is that it's not all about work. We do have that opportunity for students. We acknowledge that you are abroad, you are in a different culture, a different city. And as Matthew was explaining earlier, they do have those internships, cultural experiences, those activities where you can learn salsa dancing, learn more about the cuisine, the food, what's available. Want to make sure that you're having a holistic experience on here and you're not just focusing on internship, having a whole study abroad experience where you can grow professionally and personally on this program. With that said, we do have some student ambassadors that are more than willing and more than excited to speak with you about their experience, whether that be about the respective company that they intern in Bogota, whether it be more about the roles, whether it be just living in Bogota, some tips and tricks, as well as perhaps if you're interested more about the advising call, how to interview with respective companies, how to format your statement of purpose. They are more than willing to speak about their experience, and you're welcome to connect with them directly and view more about their experience. Some of our students submitted videos, some of our students wrote more in depth about their experience in Bogota. And so you're welcome to connect with them on our student ambassador page. And I actually strongly encourage you to do so. Like I mentioned, very happy, very willing to speak about their experience, and they're there if you need them. With that said, that does conclude our presentations. Andrew and I are willing to make Zoom appointments if you're interested in learning more, as well as just answering via email. I oversee our education, communication, global affairs, and political science tracks, while Andrew oversees our public affairs tracks. If you are interested in Bogota, Colombia, and your major does not fall within one of these UCLA departments, I do oversee UCLA majors. All UCLA majors are minors that are not listed. So feel free to connect with me, learn a little bit more about what's available, any questions, clarifications about academics, happy to answer those. If you have any questions now, feel free to unmute yourself or enter those in the chat and the Q&A, and we'll go ahead and start addressing those. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording just so we can go ahead and address those questions.